My recap of Dexter Season 3, Episode 9, entitled About Last Night. If you're enjoying these recaps, please hit the like button on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You will be notified as I have new recaps going up. I'm going to be recapping every single episode of Dexter from now all the way through Season 8, getting ready for Season 9, which will be released on Showtime coming up in the fall. In this particular episode, this is one of those great episodes where the writing all comes together. We start out at the beginning with Deborah desperately looking for the CI. She had spent the night with him the night before he had disappeared, and that's kind of where we left last episode, is he was nowhere to be found. So she goes to his apartment. They go and check it out. He's no signs of struggle. He doesn't look like he's there, but she notices that his trees have been trimmed, and that's what freaks her out. So she calls the department in. They look for him. They can't find him. Dexter notices that his trash doesn't have a trash bag in it. So they go down and look at the trash and find out that he had been there. They find his bag off to the side, and there's a little blood spot on the wall, so meaning somebody came up and slammed his head into the wall. So they know that he was taken. It then switches over to where we have the Skinner, which is that tree trimmer guy, the guy who owns his company. He is taking chunks out of his back and tells him, if you don't tell me where Freebo is, I'll be back in an hour. I've got something I got to take care of, and if you haven't told me, it's going to be a slow, painful death. He goes home to get breakfast. The cops are waiting for him there. They bring him into the police department. Now, they're still holding his assistant. His assistant is terrified of his boss, and they're trying to figure out why. Now, they're trying to get information from the tree trimming owner. They know that he's involved. They go back to his house. They do not find the CI there. So they're trying to press him at the police department. And he's not giving anything up. He's very kind of cocky and very calm. And what they do is they try to pit him against, well, basically they said, your employee is telling us everything to try to get him to crack, and it doesn't work. They even bring in Miguel, the DA, to try and convince him to give something up, and he doesn't. And how this all gets resolved is Deborah has this brilliant idea to get the information as to where the CI is being held, because they know time is not on their side. As soon as they let the tree trimmer go, the guy who owns the company, they know he's going to go kill the CI. So they concoct this scheme to take his assistant, the employee, and they take him back to his house to drop him off. And when they get there, he notices that his trees have been trimmed. And then he freaks out. They already know that he's afraid of his boss, so they're using this against him. And he freaks out and says, you guys can't do anything. You don't understand. And then he finally gives out information that the guy who owns the tree trimming company has this building, in this one location, and he divulges that location. You find out that they had hired find out that the police department, Dexter's sister, Deborah, had hired a tree trimming company to do this so that they could trap him and get him to give out information, which was pretty cool. So they go to that building, and just as they're getting there, the tree trimmer is about to go in and finish the job with the CI, sees the police coming, they take off. So you've got Quinn there with Deborah. They're trying to get in the building. They can't get in, so Quinn actually takes the car, backs up, and slams into the building to get in through the door, and they do rescue the CI. So that's kind of one of the endings to this episode. Not a whole lot with Batista in this episode. He's just there. There was one scene where he's there with his girlfriend. She's at the police department. She's talking with Masuka in the background, and Masuka's telling her some nasty jokes, as he always does, and Batista goes over there and pulls Masuka aside and says, hey, don't do that with my girlfriend. That's when Masuka tells him, I'm not the one bringing this stuff up. She is. She's kind of a horn dog herself. And that kind of confuses Batista. But that's kind of all we get with Batista and his girlfriend, who is that undercover cop who, for the prostitution. Now, we've got the other big story. Last episode, we had Miguel going to the the defense attorney's house, the girl who's trying to kind of take him to court and, take him down for the rules he has bent throughout his career. And he had originally asked Dexter to help him kill her, but Dexter would not agree because that goes against his code. Dexter won't kill anybody who doesn't belong on the list, who hasn't done something first. Miguel has tried to convince him, well, she's gotten a lot of people off who, shouldn't be off. And Dexter says, it doesn't matter. She didn't do the deed herself, so I can't do it. Well, Miguel showed up at her house. That was how the last episode ended. In this episode, you find out she's missing, and everyone's kind of distraught. Well, Dexter then realizes, first of all, before Dexter realizes where the body might be, it goes to Miguel's wife shows up at Dexter's house and Rita's house first thing in the morning. She's like, I don't know where Miguel is. He didn't really come home last night. He keeps telling me he's with Dexter, but I don't believe this. I believe he's having an affair, and she's in tears. That's when Dexter says, we were together last night. We hung out as guys, and, that was it. And I dropped him off. Or not that he dropped him off, but he said we stopped hanging out at about midnight. That's when she told him, well, he didn't show up until about an hour ago. And it was, already like 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock or whatever it was. So there was a big chunk of time where he had disappeared. And this gets Dexter thinking, what did he do? So later on, you've got the police. Dexter's at the police department, and you find out that she's missing. She won't answer any of LaGuerta's calls down there at the police department. So Dexter's like, oh my gosh. So he goes to her house to see. Dexter goes to the I keep saying district attorney. He goes to the defense attorney's house to find out if there was a sign of a struggle. He didn't see anything, but he does take out his test kit and finds blood all over the floor. He doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't want to believe that Miguel would have done this, but he starts, his mind starts going. His dad shows up in several scenes, kind of giving him guidance, telling him, I told you this was going to happen. But he remembers, if he had talked to Miguel and basically gave him information that the best place to hide a body is in a grave that they've just dug where they're going to be dropping in a body so that it gets on top of it and nobody would ever find it. So he actually takes it upon himself to go to the cemetery and notices that there are going to be 4 bodies buried that day. And he goes to the first one, doesn't find anything, goes to the second one, and does find this girl's body. He's not happy about this. His dad then is again there when he goes back to the police department and is telling him, I told you all this was going to happen. So Dexter's mind is spinning a little bit, and he calls up Miguel and says, we need to meet. So they meet for lunch, and that's when Miguel does admit to him, what had happened. And Dexter says, this isn't how I operate. I have a code. And they have a few words, but nothing major happens. Well, Dexter makes it a point to have her body found to prove to Miguel that this was not a safe thing to do, that you have to stick to the code or things are going to happen. And then Miguel goes up to Dexter and says, you're right. I will start doing things your way. I appreciate what you're doing. You're probably going to save my life. Well, later on, Dexter is having a conversation with his wife and finds out that Miguel said the same thing to her. Because earlier in the episode, she was at an open house where Miguel's wife didn't want to show up, so she was there alone. Rita was there alone, and Miguel showed up, and that's when Rita had a conversation with Miguel about how this isn't looking good to her and how he basically sat her down. They had a conversation. He said, thank you, you're probably saving my life. And that's when it dings in Dexter's head that, oh my gosh, have I been played? So he's like, wait, he gave me that shirt after we killed Freebo. Let me go grab the shirt, and I'm going to test it on the blood. And he finds out that the blood is actually from a bovine, from a cow, not from a human being. So he knows he's been played this entire time. And he's realizing that Miguel is a real big monster. So we already know where this is going. This is going to be the big kill of the season. We've got the Skinner, who's still on the loose. He ran from the building when they went in and saved the CI. We've got Miguel, who's gone off the deep end, and Dexter's code says he's got to take out anybody who's killed innocent people, and that's exactly what Miguel did. And there's actually, at the very end of this episode, there's a scene where after Dexter finds out about the bovine blood, that he just trashes his thing. He throws a chair out the window, starts smashing his computer and all this stuff, and everyone in the police department gets freaked out. And then you find out that's just in his head, but it shows Miguel walking into the lab there, and you can see Dexter's face, and Dexter's like, this is the first time I have ever really felt anything, and he has this deep anger for Miguel and for being played. So we've got 3 more episodes. This is ramping up again to be another fantastic season. So We'll find out what happens coming up in episode 10. I will have that recap up probably in a couple of days. Again, I do appreciate all the support. Please, again, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You will be notified as I have new videos go up.